Welcome, everyone. I hope you are well. It is time for another episode of It's Time We Talk. As of recording, we are around 10 weeks away from the start of the 2026 World Cup on June 11th. And even though the tournament is still quite a long way away, the discussion and conversation around it is heating up. Of course, we just saw the final 6 teams secure their spot, or the final however many teams secure their spots through the playoffs to get into the World Cup. So now that the groups are set, now that all of the nations are set, we have all 48 teams, I want to go through this tier list. Mostly because predicting every single group and then making my predictions as to the round of 32 and the round of 16 and then the 8 and the semifinals and the final, it'll just take way too long. So I have the flags of all 48 nations here. I am going to be putting them into this tier list, see where they fall, and how I think that they will do this summer. So taking a look at the tier list, we have serious title contenders. I'm going to try to put no more than 3 teams into this category, just because, if they're serious title contenders, I think there are probably 2 or 3 teams that I think are serious contenders that could win this tournament. Who knows? There'd probably be more than that, but my opinion, not quite contenders. So teams that I think that will do well, will make it far, but I don't think they're quite ready yet to be contenders for the World Cup. They could surprise us. Teams that could make a deep run, could play some exciting ball. They'll be fun to watch. This is more for the teams that play good football and surprise us. Ones that are going to be, like I said, fun to watch. They will underwhelm more so teams with bigger expectations, who I think might not live up to them in this World Cup. I think that, maybe they need to lower their expectations coming into this tournament. And 3 games and see ya. The teams that I think will play 3 games and they'll be done. So, pretty self-explanatory there. I don't think that they'll do too much in this World Cup. So those are the tiers. I also have the groups and the teams in front of me, just in case I need to refer to them, who's going to be in what group. And let's get into it. The first team that I have up is Algeria. Now, Algeria are in a group with Argentina, Austria, and Jordan. I'm not predicting every single place, but I think that they might scrape their way into the round of 32. I think it'll be very close. Austria, I think, are just better than them. So I'm going to put Algeria in. Probably they'll be fun to watch. I don't really think they're going to surprise us, but I don't really think that finishing third in that group and making it to the round of 32 is underwhelming. Maybe it is because they're a bigger country in Africa and they've had some really good players in the past. But Algeria, it's yet to be seen what their squad will look like. But I think they'll be they're always an interesting team. They're always a fun team to watch. Next up is a team in the group with them. We've got Austria. Austria, like I said, I think they'll finish second. I think that they could be a very surprising team. Austria in the Euros in 2024 played well. I think that they have they don't really have any stars on their team. I know that a lot of their better players are getting older, but I still think that they could surprise us. They could maybe make a run to the round of 16. I would not be surprised to see that at all. They do have some good players. They do have some interesting players. Like I said, older ones, more experienced guys who have been here before. I think they'll have a lot of guys from that 2022 World Cup team and from the 2024 Euros team playing for them in 2026 in America. So that should be interesting. That should be very interesting. Going into the next one, the Czechia, the Czech Republic. For them, they are in a group which I think that they could surprise us. Personally, I mean, they just got into the World Cup by beating Denmark, a pretty good Denmark team. I don't say pretty good, a very decent Denmark team. And they're in a group with Mexico, South Africa, and South Korea. I think it is very possible for them to get out of this group and maybe even finish in the automatic spots, not even in third place. Yeah, I think they're a decent side. They play. I saw the highlights of their game against Denmark. I think they're a team, and against Ireland as well. I think they're a team that can make things happen, and they're never really out of a game. You saw they were down 2-0 to Ireland in the first 15 minutes of their first game, and I think that proves they have what it takes to maybe make it further than we think. So I'm putting them in they could surprise us. Argentina. This is going to be a very difficult one because Argentina are the third team in that group with Algeria and Austria. We'll get to the fourth one later on. Argentina are the reigning World Cup champions. And I'm having some serious trouble with this one because I'm going to put them, and I'm going to explain, I'm going to put them in not quite contenders. They're going to be a very good team. They're going to win this group. I think, in my opinion, I think they'll win 2 of 3. I think they'll beat Algeria. I think they'll beat Jordan. And I think they might draw to Austria. Like I said, Austria's a good team. But I think Argentina are one of the best teams in this tournament. But looking at the squad that they had, looking at the impact players from the 2022 win, you do still have Enzo Fernandez. You do still have, some very good play. Emi Martinez. But guys like Messi, Di Maria, and you still have guys like Julian Alvarez, who I'm very excited to, and Lautaro Martinez, guys I'm very excited to see. But I think I just don't really see them going back to back. I don't see them making the final. I don't know what their road to the final would be, but I'm going to put them in not quite contenders because I think serious title contenders goes to the teams that I think are seriously in the mix to make it far and seriously in the mix to win the whole tournament. And I just don't think that's the case for Argentina at the 2026 World Cup. Moving on, we have Australia. Australia are in the group with the U.S. They're in Group D. I think this is going to be an interesting group because the U.S. are not playing very well. I'll talk more about the teams in their group later on. I think Australia are going to move on. I don't know the last time they made it out of the group in a World Cup, but I think they have a very good chance, even if it is as a third place team. I think Group D is going to be such an interesting one to watch because it looks like a bit of a Mickey Mouse group for the U.S., some would say, but I think that Australia are a decent team. I think these are all teams that are pretty close together in terms of how good I think they actually are. I'm going to put Australia... I mean, they will just absolutely be fun to watch, I think. I think they will absolutely be fun to watch. Australia are always a fun team to watch when World Cup time comes. Moving on, we have Belgium. So Belgium are a team that historically in international competition, whether it's the Euros or the World Cup, seriously underwhelmed. I know I actually put a lot of stock in them in 2024 to make it pretty far in the Euros, and that just wasn't the case. I think this year, Belgium, they're a lot older this year. That golden generation has died out. Eden Hazard doesn't even play professional football anymore. Lukaku is inconsistent and injury prone. Kevin De Bruyne is I think he's nursing an injury right now. What will his status be for the World Cup? I still think Thibaut Courtois is one of the best in the world at his position, and I think they do have some interesting young players in Openda, in Jeremy Doku, in players like that, and they do have some good experience. I think they will make it out of Group G. I think I'm kind of talking myself into. I probably should have had more tears to this. I'm gonna go for. This might be harsh. They'll underwhelm. I just don't know. The thing with Belgium is, I could put them in either one of these. They could surprise us, or they will underwhelm. And it's just about that first game. I think their first game in the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, is against Croatia. No, it's a friendly. Sorry, is against Egypt. That's going to be an interesting game. Now, I think that game will decide the group, the very first one. And I think Belgium, I'm actually going to put them into they could surprise us. They could surprise us. This team has so much quality. It's a lot older now, and it'll be interesting to see. But I think, given the group they're in, I think Belgium could surprise us. They could make it farther. Like I said, they haven't had a very good showing of themselves in the past couple of international tournaments. So let's see. Bosnia and Herzegovina. I haven't looked at which group that they're in, actually. I watched their game, their historic game against Italy, and I hope that you guys have seen the video or the episode that I made around the Italian national team. I was bigging up Bosnia for such a great accomplishment. They're going to have to face hosts Canada first in Group B. And I think they will be a team that is actually very fun to watch. Kind of teams are living in these middle two categories, but that'll change. That'll change. I think they'll be fun to watch. They were an interesting team to watch in their games. I can't remember who they played. They played Italy. But in order to play Italy, they beat Wales in Wales, which was a huge win. They beat them on penalties. Both games they won on penalties, which means, they're clutch. They know what to do. They know how to get the job done, and I think they will be fun to watch. They have some young players who are going to be exciting. I think they, depending on, is Edin Dzeko going to play? I know he came off injured against Italy. Will he be ready for the World Cup? I hope so. To see him, I'd love to see him get one last chance to play in the World Cup, because I believe he was on that 2014 World Cup squad. So yeah, I'll put them in fun to watch. Brazil. Now for Brazil, I think I'll put them in not quite contenders. I think they're a little bit below Argentina, personally. But looking at the group that they're in, it's very interesting, is what I'll say. You've got Morocco, who, there's the whole controversy going on between them and Senegal. Are they the real AFCON champions? Not in my opinion. But they are listed as the champions of Africa right now. You've got Scotland and you've got Haiti. That is going to be, just in general, a fun group to watch. I think Brazil will finish first, and I think they will win all 3 games. That game against Morocco is going to, that's the first game of that group for both teams. I think that's going to be such a crazy good game. I'm really excited for that. But I think Brazil will win all 3 games. I think having Carlo Ancelotti at the wheel, he's such an accomplished coach, such an accomplished manager, and I think by the time the World Cup rolls around, he will have this Brazil team playing good football. And I think that they could seriously make a run. I think they could really make a run. I would not be surprised at all to see them make a serious run to the quarterfinals, maybe even the semifinals. Who knows? Brazil, you never know. They're obviously not as good as they used to be, but you never know with them. You really never know with them. I'm going to take the risk and say not quite contenders. Canada is the first team that I will put in. They will underwhelm. They are hosting their group games, and I believe if they make it out, they're hosting the round of 32 as well. I might be wrong about that. But they're playing in a group with Bosnia and Herzegovina, which, like I said, I've bigged them up. I think they'll play some really good football, and I think they'll give them a good game. Canada might win that, but I think Qatar, I think they'll win, but I think Switzerland as well. I mean, I'll talk more about Switzerland later, but I think Canada will underwhelm. I'm not a huge fan of this team. I think this is probably the worst group out of them all, and that they're tied with another one that I'll mention later. But I'm just not big on Canada. I'm not big on. It also all depends on, is Alphonso Davies gonna play? What's the situation with him? I mean, I feel like the guy's always injured. I love him. He's such a good player, but he doesn't have a position for Canada. Plays as an attacker, plays as a defender. I just don't think they're in a position where they'll do well. They might get. I think they might finish second or third, but I think overall they will underwhelm. Cape Verde, 3 games and see ya. Unfortunately, I would love to. I mean, I'm not even really sure about this Cape Verde team. Great of them to be able to make it as far as they have. I believe they got in. I can't remember how they got in. Obviously through qualifying, but they're ranked 67th in the world. I think they got put into a seriously good group. I think they'll lose all 3 games, and I think that they will massively struggle to play good football. It's going to be a very quick trip to North America for them, and then back home. Colombia. Colombia are usually the team that I root for in international tournaments, mostly because I'm Puerto Rican myself. Puerto Rico don't play soccer, football. And the U.S., I do root for the U.S., but Colombia, I think, are a very interesting team. I've always loved James Rodriguez. I've always loved some of the players, from that 2014 and 2018 team. One of my favorite games, just for the pure, what's the word I'm looking for? Just for the pure raucousness of it, that game against England at the World Cup in 2018, one of my favorites. But yeah, Colombia, I think this year they will underwhelm. It is only friendlies, but I don't think that they've played. They didn't play very well this past time around against France and Croatia. And I know those are 2 very good teams, but I think they will underwhelm. I just, James is in his mid-30s at this point. Luis Diaz, I love Luis Diaz. He's such a good player. And I think that someone like John Duran could have a seriously good tournament, but I don't think the team is as well-rounded as they used to be. And looking at their qualification, they did lose some games. They didn't have some of the best results in that. They did finish third, which was above Brazil. Don't get me wrong, which is great. In their 18 games, they won 7, drew 7, lost 4, but they finished below an Ecuador team they're supposed to be better than. And I just don't think they put up as many good results as they probably should have. And they finished below Ecuador when Ecuador was deducted 3 points. So let's see what happens. I mean, I'm not trying to completely count them out because, like I said, I do root for them and I do like them. But I do think that overall that they will underwhelm at this tournament, unfortunately. Moving on to Croatia, a team that I just previously mentioned, I think they'll be fun to watch. I don't really think that they're going to surprise us. They're in a situation similar to Belgium, where a lot of their better players are getting a lot older, and I don't think that they have the sort of consistency that you want from a team that can go a little bit further in the tournament. They're playing in a group, if I'm not mistaken, that features England, Ghana, and Panama. I think they'll make it out of that, but I just don't see them making it too much further. Croatia are a good team. I think the game against Ghana, I think that'll be very interesting to see who finishes second. And Panama, we'll see with them later. But Croatia, I think that they're very close to they could surprise us, but I'm just going to put them in. They'll be fun to watch for now. The Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast. I mean, they've always been a team that are guaranteed to play some good football and, make it, I don't want to say relatively far, but they'll be contenders to make it out of their group, and they can give anybody a good game. This time around, though, I think that they will underwhelm. I mean, their group is so tough. That is a secret group of death. I mean, I don't think there are any true groups of death in this. Maybe Group F. We'll talk about them a little later. But I think, looking at it, I mean, there's only one team. I think that 3 out of the 4 teams are pretty much locked to move on. But Ivory Coast, I think that a lot of their expectations are driven on their previous results. And I don't think that they've done all that well against other African teams. So it makes me a little bit worrisome. In the AFCON, they lost in the quarterfinal to Egypt. And they're usually a team where you'd expect them to maybe make it a little bit further than that. I don't know. I don't know if I'm being too harsh on the Ivory Coast, but I think that they'll slightly underwhelm. Curacao, oh man, I'd love to put them in. They'll be fun to watch, but it's just gonna have to be 3 games in Sia. I actually did watch a couple of their games, sort of in the background when it came to World Cup qualifying, and I think they're a decent little side to watch. But looking at their group, let me pull it up. Looking at their group, they are in the same group as Ecuador, Germany, and Ivory Coast. I think they'll lose all 3 games, and I think it'll not. They kind of got the short end of the stick. To be fair, I think it'll be tough for them. Ecuador, they could surprise us. They had a phenomenal World Cup qualifying. They had a phenomenal World Cup qualifying, finishing above the likes of Colombia, Brazil, Chile, Paraguay. They finished above a lot of teams where in the past you'd think, oh, Ecuador probably won't even make it. But Ecuador, I think they've built a very good base of midfield surrounded by Moises Caicedo. I think they have guys like Piero Hincapié. I mean, they've got some good players. If I didn't put them in They Could Surprise Us, I put them in They'll Be Fun to Watch because I think they will be fun to watch. But I'm gonna go put them. I have a lot of expectations for them, man. I think they're gonna be good. They could surprise us. They could surprise us. Egypt. Egypt. They did make it to the semifinals of AFCON. I think it'll be very interesting to see what kind of Mo Salah we get for Egypt because we know that, as well as Omar Marmoush, they're really dependent on guys like that. Looking at Egypt's group, Egypt are in a group where I think they'll make it out. I think there's potential for them to finish first in their group and maybe make a run. But I'm gonna put them in. They'll be fun to watch. They'll be fun to watch. Egypt are always a team that are in that conversation of they'll be fun to watch, and I think that's where I'll put them for the time being. They're gonna be a fun team to watch. Salah, like I said, I'm very interested to see how he will do. Omar Marmoush, yeah, I like that. They'll be fun to watch. England. Oh, I toyed with this one for quite a bit. When I thought about this, I toyed with this for quite a bit. England, like I said, you can't put too much stock in World Cup. In friendlies. I think in World Cup qualifying, they did their job. They did what they had to do. They didn't play the nicest football, but I do think that Thomas Tuchel has them playing pretty well. I mean, they took care of business in World Cup qualification. You look at it, they were in a group with Albania, Serbia, Latvia, Andorra. You expect them to win all 8 games, not concede any goals, and they literally did do that. All 8 games. I mean, Serbia aren't a bad team. All 8 games, 8 wins, 22 goals scored, none conceded. So yeah, England, to hell with it. I'm putting them in serious title contenders. I think if they're going to win the World Cup, I think it's going to be this year. I think, could I say their window is closing? I mean, 2030, a lot of their guys will, a lot of the guys will still be in their primes, but guys like Harry Kane, like, this will be a serious run for them. I think they're going to take this very seriously. That's why you bring in someone like Thomas Tuchel. So yeah, I'm going to put them in serious title contenders. Same with the next team, France. I mean, they're so good. They're so good. France, of course, won the 2018 World Cup, lost in the 2022 World Cup final, and looking at it, they're just able to churn out such good talent. They're always in the mix. They're always in the mix. At least recently, I should say. Within the last like 10 years or so. But France, they're at the peak of their powers right now. Maybe not the case. Maybe that was more 8 years ago. But they have so many good players. They have too many good players to not be serious title contenders. And I mean, I'll check out their group, even though I think no matter who's in their group, they'll win all 3. Yeah, They're in Group D. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry. Whoop. Wow, I was looking at their World Cup qualifying group. Yeah, I think they'll win all 3 games. Maybe they'll draw one. But I think they'll win all 3 games, personally. Next up is Germany. I think Germany had a lot of expectations for a home Euros in 2024. They won the World Cup in 2014, and they haven't really had a great showing in a World Cup since. I'm going to put them in not quite contenders. I think that they will be much improved when it comes to their previous World Cup performances in the last 2. But I don't think that they are serious title contenders just yet. They have so much good talent, and I think in 2030, when you have guys like Jamal Musiala, Leonard Carl, Pavlovic, you have all these guys. I think they're going to be a dangerous, dangerous team, but I'm going to put them in not quite contenders. I think they'll play very good ball. I think they'll make it far, but I don't think that they're a serious threat to win it all. Next up, we have Ghana. Now, Ghana are in a pretty fun World Cup group, if I'm not mistaken. They're in a situation where I think they'll underwhelm. Some people might have some expectations for Ghana, like I said, because of previous World Cup experience, but they're in a group with Croatia and England. And I genuinely think Panama might finish above them. There's a serious threat that Ghana might finish last in this group. It all depends on that first game, June 17th against Panama. For Ghana, I think Ghana could finish last. I think they will finish third, but I think they could finish last. So I think that they will underwhelm. Haiti, 3 games and see ya. Haiti, they have a lot of heart, and I think they very much deserve to be where they are, and I think that they will make Group C interesting. Having Morocco, Scotland, Brazil, they're gonna give everybody a game. I don't think they'll give Brazil a game, but I think they will give Scotland a game, and I'm actually really excited to see that game. Haiti and Scotland. I feel like the 4 teams in this have such differing cultures when it comes to football, and they play so differently that I think it'll just be so fun to watch. Iran, I think, are in the same boat, 3 games and see ya. They're better than the other 3 teams in 3 games and see ya, but there's so many outside factors. I think they'll finish last in their group. There's also the situation that's going on with the United States, the political situation with the United States that I am not even going to try to attempt to get into, but there's a threat that they may not even participate in this World Cup. I don't know how true that is, but I think Iran will play 3 games and they'll be done. And on that same note, Iraq beat Bolivia, I believe, to get into the World Cup. And they're in a group where they are clearly the worst team in their group. And I don't think they play particularly good football either. I think it'll be very tough for them. Yeah, I'm going to put Iraq in 3 games and see ya. Japan, they are always fun to watch. 2018, I think, is one of my favorite moments when they beat Spain on penalties. That was such a great moment. And Japan are always a team that is fun to watch. They could surprise us. They very well could surprise us. But I think I'm going to keep them where they are. and they'll be fun to watch. I think they'll probably finish second or third in their group. They'll be a fun team to watch. Jordan. Uh, yeah, 3 games and see ya. 3 games and see ya. I think when it comes to these teams like Iran, Iraq, Jordan, they are probably glad that the World Cup has increased to 48 teams because it means that they get in. But they're put in a situation where the teams that they're playing against, maybe not in Iran's case, but in Iraq, Jordan, Curacao, Cape Verde, Haiti, there's just levels to this, and I would so love to be wrong. I would so love for any of these teams in 3 games in SIA to do a lot better than I think they're going to do, but that's just where I have them. Mexico, they'll be fun to watch. They'll be fun to watch. Hosting the World Cup, I think that atmosphere is going to be awesome. And they very well could surprise. Again, another team that could surprise us. I might move some of these teams a little later on, but I think Mexico will be fun to watch. They've always got some exciting players. The fact that Guillermo Ochoa, who has been their World Cup goalkeeper for the last 3-4 World Cups, that's just crazy. That's going to be awesome. The fact that he could probably be in net for that team. Morocco, they could surprise us. Morocco could surprise us. They're a good squad. I mean, in 2018, they made it to the semifinals. And they dropped off a little bit in 2022. I think in this one, you have the addition of Brahim Diaz, who didn't play for Morocco in the World Cup in 2022. They'll be a fun team to watch. They'll be a fun team to watch, and I think they could surprise us. I'm very interested to watch Morocco play. Now, moving on, we have New Zealand. I almost got confused with the flags earlier. New Zealand, I can't put them in 3 games and see it because I already put Iran there. I honestly don't know. I haven't seen New Zealand play. I don't remember the last time New Zealand were in the World Cup. By default, I'm going to put them in. They'll be fun to watch because I don't think they can underwhelm if I don't really have much expectation for them. But I also think that they're probably better than Iran. Maybe? Well, this is so tough. This is so tough. I'm going to leave them there. Norway, they could surprise us. They have so many good players, and I think they played so well in World Cup qualifying. Beating Italy twice, home and away, was very impressive. You've got guys like Erling Haaland, Martin Odegaard, Julian Ryerson. They're going to be a fun team to watch, and they very well could surprise us. I could see them making the round of 16. Maybe even further than that. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Panama. They'll be fun to watch, but I think it's 3 games and see ya. Let me double check. Hold on. Panama, yeah. 3 games and see ya, unfortunately. They will be a team that is fun to watch, I think, but they were so bad. Was it the 2018 or the 2022 World Cup? They were so horrible. And I don't think they're much better this time around. I think it's 3 games and see ya. Paraguay will be fun to watch. Made it in through qualifying for CONMEBOL, and I think they'll be a good team to watch. Looking at their group, let me just familiarize myself with their group. Paraguay are in a group where they very well could make it out, and they could make a mini run, maybe. I think Group D is going to be chaos, because one of these 4 teams is going to have to finish last, and I don't think it's going to be Paraguay. But I don't really think any of the teams in Group D are in 3 games in SIA because you never know. You never know with that group. Portugal. Not quite contenders. Hold on. Not quite contenders. Because like I said, I only really want to put 2 or 3 teams in serious title contenders. Portugal are so good. And I'm really excited to watch them play and see how far they get. Because that team is so exciting. And I really want to put them in serious title contenders. Out of the 4 teams that are in this tier, they are the ones that are closest to serious title contenders. They're in a group with Colombia, who, like I said, I think will underwhelm. I think they'll win all 3 games. Qatar, 3 games in SIA, unfortunately. I mean, they proved that at the World Cup they hosted, they're not really a good team. They're not really a good team, and I don't expect them to prove me wrong at all. Maybe they will. Saudi Arabia. I mean, I don't really know where to put them because they're not going to be 3 games in SIA because they won't finish last because they're in the same group as Cape Verde. And I don't really think they'll underwhelm, but I don't really think they'll be fun to watch. I think they'll probably underwhelm. I don't think they'll make it through to the next round. I think they'll finish 3rd, but I don't think they'll be a good enough 3rd place team to make it to the next round. I could be wrong about that. But Saudi Arabia, not high on them at all. Scotland, they will be so much fun to watch. They will be so much fun to watch. That group with Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, Scotland. Oh, it's going to be box office. I cannot wait for that. Senegal. Senegal are another team that I think will be fun to watch. Yeah, I think Morocco's better than them. Even though Senegal did win the AFCON, I think Morocco are still better prepared to face other teams in South America, Europe, and North America. When it comes to South Africa, again, I'm just going to take the cop-out and say they'll be fun to watch. Because they always are. Purely for that first game alone. Against Mexico. Oh, that's going to be awesome. That first game against Mexico. Whew. And the rematch, when they hosted in 2010, they hosted Mexico. What a game that was. And now Mexico are hosting South Africa. You can't write it. Now the other team in their group, South Korea, I think that they will underwhelm. I don't think they're very good, personally. They're always considered one of the better, if not the best, team in Asia, and I don't think that they'll be very good at this upcoming World Cup. I think there's potential for them to finish below South Africa, and I think they'll probably finish 3rd or I don't know if I see them finishing 4th, but I do see them finishing 3rd and maybe not being good enough to make it out of the group. Maybe they will be good enough to make it out of the group. Again, predictions. I could be wrong. Who knows? Spain are the other team I'm putting in serious title contenders. Coming off of a Euros win, they are so exciting. They're so good. They have so much good young talent, so much good experienced talent. It's going to be so difficult. It's going to be so difficult to outperform them for 90 to 120 minutes in this competition. Sweden, I'm actually going to take a moment to move Mexico into they could surprise us, just because hosting the World Cup, I think, is the biggest benefit to them. I think they could seriously get behind a raucous Mexico crowd. I'm moving them to they could surprise us. Next up is Sweden. Now, Sweden, are in a very good group. I think they're going to underwhelm. They did very well to make it to the World Cup through the playoffs. I'm not big on Graham Potter, their manager. I don't know if Isak's going to play. I imagine Isak will play. I don't think it'll matter all that much. I don't think Sweden's as good as some people may think they are. And I just think they'll underwhelm, personally. Switzerland. Looking at their group. Switzerland, I'm going to put them in purely because of the group they're playing in. I think they'll finish first, and I think that they could surprise us. Who knows? Because then, if you finish first, you face one of the third place teams or the worst second place team, and you never know what could happen. We could see them in the round of 16. I could very well see that. We could see them in the quarterfinals. You never know. The Democratic Republic of Congo. They did very well to make it in. I think they'll be fun to watch. I don't think they'll finish last. I think that they'll be fun to watch. They're a good team. And it's about if they can get all of their best players to click at the same time. Yohan Wissa, if he can score goals for them after a disappointing season for Newcastle, could he play a big role? Could he be a factor? The Netherlands, I think, are not quite contenders. I think that they... wrong spot. Not quite contenders. They did well. They made it, I think, to the semifinals of the Euros. And they usually do well in international competition, and I think they will make it pretty far. Their group, just to remind myself, is pretty good. I think they will finish first. I think they'll draw with Japan, but I think they'll win the other two games against Sweden and Tunisia. And then it's about goal difference at that point. And I think they will not quite be contenders, but they'll do well. The United States will underwhelm so hard. And it pains me to say that because the two teams I'm rooting for, Colombia and the United States, are the teams that I think are going to massively underwhelm. I think Poch is a good coach. I think Poch is a good manager. But I think the quality of the squad is just not up to par. They'll make it out of their group. They might make it to the round of 16, but I mean, Poch himself said we're aiming for a semifinal. I think that's ridiculous. Just for that alone, they're going to underwhelm. Just for that alone, I think it's going to be very tough for them to do anything other than underwhelm. All right, moving into our final four teams. Tunisia, 3 games in SIA. I mean, look at their group. Japan, Netherlands, Sweden, Tunisia. 3 games in SIA. I think they'll lose all 3. Turkey will be fun to watch, in my opinion. They're in the same group as the United States. They've got the United States, Paraguay, and Australia in their group. And I think they could win it. And for that alone, I just convinced myself they could surprise us. Turkey have some good players, and let's see how they do. I'm giving them a chance. They could surprise us. Uruguay are up next. They are in the same group as Spain, so I can't really put them too high, but they will automatically qualify for the next round, and I think they will be fun to watch. Uruguay have some very good players. They are always a rough and physical team, and they give a lot of teams some problems, and that's going to be fun to watch. See them, I think they'll bully teams like Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia, but they could give Spain a good game. They could give Spain a really good game. Who knows? I'm trying to see when they play Spain, because that also is they're the last game. I don't think that match will mean much, to be fair. But if that match does end up meaning something, and I don't know, I think Uruguay could probably give them a good game. Uzbekistan are the final team in this tier list. And for Uzbekistan, 3 games and see ya. I think they'll be gone. I think they'll finish 4th. They'll finish 4th in their group. They won't be fun to watch. They won't underwhelm because I don't have expectations for them. 3 games and see ya. So that is my final tier list. Just taking a look at the top. England, France, and Spain. Those are my serious title contenders. The ones below them, I think, could make some noise, but those top, those top 8 teams, that could be the quarterfinals right there. Probably not, because bound to be upsets and stuff like that. And that's why the World Cup is so fun, because you never really know. But that is going to be the end of this episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening and taking time out of your day to listen to me ramble on about the World Cup. I appreciate it. Be sure to like this podcast on Spotify, like the video on YouTube. Be sure to follow me, on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube. All those links are in the description below. And I don't know what the next episode will be, but I've had a lot of fun making this tier list, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you so much, and we will see you later. Be well.